Hello everyone, it's Six. Dragonflight comes out this coming Monday, and I thought this would be a good time to just generally talk about the expansion, what it's bringing to the table, and my current thoughts after all my testing since alpha. First off, I do want to mention a recent video from Preach discussing this new era of World of Warcraft, and I highly recommend watching that video at some point. I'll put it in my description if you wish to check it out. It's very enlightening, and it shows interviews at Blizzard headquarters with multiple devs. Preach himself paid for this. This is not a sponsored piece of content. He did this because he saw changes happening and he wanted to learn more about their changes in philosophy moving forward. I'm sure we all want WoW to be better and improve, so if you're of a similar mindset, it's a very good watch. Moving forward, I'll start off with my excitement for the campaign. Recently in an interview, we found out there's multiple cutscenes that were never shown in the beta, and there's also a storyline after the primary leveling campaign that was never shown. We saw one of these new cutscenes in the second wave of pre-patch showing off Raszageth and her introduction in the Evokers starting zone. We also had the cutscene with Khadgar being approached by Kalecgos. Personally, I have a lot of excitement for this. So much so that when I'm doing my first leveling playthrough on my main, I'll be taking it slow and easy, and truly absorbing the material that we are being presented. Furthermore, the zone music, as far as I'm aware, was never put in during testing. We could listen to the recently released OST to hear the zone music, but I am waiting to experience it the day of. The login theme has given me a lot of excitement for the musical score this time around, as it seems the composer is trying something different, and I like a lot of the instrumentation. I also suggest you yourselves give the music a go the first time around. I know a lot of us listen to our own music when we play games, but speaking from personal experience, the tracks I've heard are pretty great. This is subjective, but I'm just bringing that to your attention. Overall, I'm interested in seeing where our new plot points go in the story, and it feels very similar to us stepping back into a Mist of Pandaria style of storytelling, where we are adventurers in a new land and we are there to unravel the mysteries it holds. I like stories like that, and I'm very excited for it. I want to also touch on the dungeons in Dragonflight. Obviously, this is a very subjective opinion, but overall, I was not a big fan of Shadowlands dungeons, although I did enjoy Tazavesh. So far in Dragonflight, I've not outright hated any Dragonflight dungeon, and I look forward to them all. This is a huge change for me. I'm also interested in revisiting old dungeons in the M+ environment. Temple of the Jade Serpent is a classic for me, and I'm glad to see Mop getting more love. We also have Halls of Valor returning, which is one of my favorite all-time dungeons. I know Thundering as an affix has gotten a lot of changes, and I know it is very polarizing amongst the community, but overall I think it will be an okay affix for the first season. We also have the eye level changes impacting how we see Mythic Plus, so we have to do 20s now weekly. I don't really mind this, but I'm curious to see how this impacts the pug community overall. So far, dungeons feel like we're in Azeroth again, and the themes are much more my taste. Moving on to raiding, I did participate in all of the raid testing, and I feel pretty good about the entire tier, besides the fight right before Raszageth. I'm not a fan of Broodkeeper Diurna. It's like we're revisiting Razorgore and BWL, but the mechanics are dialed up to actually be difficult. It's also an ad fight, and I'm not a fan of the fight right before the final boss being kind of a meme fight. I think this is actually an opinion a lot of testers have shared, so if you feel differently, please comment below, because I'd love to read someone else's take on this raid tier. The other fights are fun, the designs and look of the raid are pretty stellar. I absolutely love Kurog and the Sinarth fight. Sinarth having an ice mechanic is great, and I'm glad Blizzard is expanding into that realm of raid mechanics, although some may find it frustrating. I'm very hopeful for this being a good starter tier. I do have some worries, as Blizzard has noted that this tier will be easier than the last couple raids we've received, as there was a huge difficulty jump in the Shadowlands overall. I don't really want another Emerald Nightmare, but we will see what we get on raid release concerning difficulty. Professions are getting a huge overhaul, and personally, while I do like the changes, I often only do professions to make money. I'll gravitate towards whatever makes me the most gold, and I'll try and find a market for myself so I can build a gold supply. This is also just the type of player I am. Perhaps I may enjoy the professions more than I realize and put more effort into them. This is actually something that would be good to review as we move through the expansion, as I'm not the stereotypical professions person. If I get invested into it, I think that would show the revamp was in some ways a success. Classes and specs have huge changes via the talent trees that are coming in. I stand by this statement that the majority of specs are far more enjoyable than they were in the past expansions. At least from a melee perspective, I enjoy far more of the specs than I used to. There's just more going on, and I appreciate that. Now when it comes to range specs, I know some have received the rough of it. I'm looking at you, Shadow Priest. But a good thing that I personally keep in mind for this is that this is the building blocks to long-term design. This isn't something that is modular design and going to be thrown away. This is something that is going to be invested in for the long term. Again, I highly recommend watching the Preach video I mentioned beforehand. It really highlights what we're getting into with Dragonflight and the philosophies going forward. That being said, I know it may feel awful for some specs right now, and I can empathize as I've been there before. I just hope that things change quickly for you. I can only speak personally, however, and from my standpoint, being a melee fill player for my guild, I enjoy more melee specs than I did before, as some have gone more complicated and less simplistic. This is definitely something that is going to receive changes through all of Dragonflight's existence, as well as moving forward into future expansions. I'm excited to see where it goes, and I hope for those that don't find your specs interesting, I hope it gets better or you find a new love. Might as well touch on Evokers since we're on the topic of classes. I'm not really someone who naturally gravitates to ranged DPS classes. I've tried Evoker, I think it's fine. Not something I'm going out of my way to play, but for those that enjoy it, I hope you do. I also don't really heal. Now if they gave Evokers a tank spec, or if they gave them a spear class like a Dragoon, yeah, I'd be all up for that. Those changes are more my speed. I hope for those picking them to main for your raids that works out, and I wish you nothing but luck. Finally, I want to touch on Dragon Riding. Dragon Riding has seen sweeping changes and reverts over the entire testing period. Changes to the feel of movement, how our camera works, our speeds, how abilities work, the talent tree. Overall, I am happy where it's landed, and I hope this is a system that keeps getting pushed forward. This should be the new standard of flying in WoW. It's faster, it requires actual gameplay, and I think that's good for the game. I know some of you may miss AFK flying, I get that, but I highly suggest you use Flight Pass when you need to step away from the computer. The new system is just a faster and better option. Also from my understanding, old flying will return at some point as another option. Bottom line, this new flying and glyph system beats rep grinding and FF14's air current system by a mile. We can fly out the gate, and glyphs don't require a cast channel to pick up. You just get it and go. It's absolutely perfect. Some of you may be curious what my plans are moving into Dragonflight and future content on the channel. If not, feel free to skip to the next section of the video as they are all marked. I plan on mythic raiding in a guild as an enhancement shaman, although I may get moved to rogue depending on what is needed. That means I will be gearing specifically 2 characters come week 1 in Mythic Plus and raiding. I'll be pretty busy. I want KSM and I want Cutting Edge. There's also the goal of doing PvP for the limited time PvP sets. I honestly prefer the colors on the PvP gear to the raid tier gear, so I'll feel the FOMO if I don't at least try and get it. I also have an expansion goal of extending my game knowledge by doing content on every spec in the game. That means doing high keys on every spec, really understanding them, and that will make me that much more knowledgeable moving into the next expansion, and it'll make me better at delivering content to you all. This expansion will be a very busy time, and I look forward to the journey. Overall, I am looking forward to Dragonflight, and I am positive about its future. Will there be bumps in the road? Most definitely. This is a whole new direction for the game as we move forward. But there are no required grinds besides what you want to do now concerning borrow power systems. This is perfect for alts and experimentation. I've been pretty meh about WoW since BFA, but I've tested this since day 1 alpha, and I'm still excited to play the game, so at least for me, something has improved, and I'm hopeful. I want to thank you all for watching. I apologize for the lack of recent content, but I am done moving, I have fiber, and I am ready to supply a lot of Dragonflight content as we move forward together. I have an announcement as well. To celebrate the release of Dragonflight, Blizzard has given me Heroic Edition copies to give away. I am doing one giveaway on my Twitter, which is listed below in the video description, and I will be doing the other giveaway on my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/BigHeroSixy. Both giveaway winners will be picked on November 28th, the day of the expansion's launch. The stream giveaway will happen around 4 p.m. CST, that's Central Standard Time, on November 28th, so please be around on stream if you're interested. Also, feel free to stop by and hang out. I will be doing an expansion launch marathon as well as streaming extremely heavily moving into December. Expect Shaman Rogue gameplay as well as other alts, since we have time the first couple weeks. But come Raid and Mythic Plus week, I'll be on my Shaman and Rogue gearing them extensively until tier is cleared, KSM is acquired, or something else is required of me. With all that being said, I wish you all an awesome launch. Hope you all have a great time. As always, stay safe, and thank you so much.